So today I am going to talk about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, because this is a camera that I've used a lot over the last few months, and that's the reason why I'm doing this review now and why I didn't do it earlier, is because I really did need to test this thing properly and use it in as many situations as I can, which is what I like to do with the camera before I put any proper opinions out there about it. I've used it side by side with the Ursa Mini Pro, which is the camera I primarily use for all of my productions. This now sits side by side with that on every shoot that I go on. And sometimes I actually end up using this more than the Ursa Mini Pro, mainly because you know, some of the situations I'm in a funny location and I have to travel quite far, and I decide, well, I'm only going to take the pocket cam because it's small, it's light, it fits on my Xeon Crane 2, it's easy. I walk with it, I get the shots that I need. You know, sometimes I don't want to have to carry a big camera with me, even though I do love it. I've shot a documentary for 3 years using Ursa Mini 4K, 4.6K and the Ursa Mini Pro. Putting it on stabilizer meant that I would have to get one of the big stabilizers for the Ursa Mini Pro. And for me, it made more sense to just get a Xeon Crane 2. They're cheap. You can put this onto it. It's an easy setup, and you get all the stabilized shots that you need. I don't want to work that hard. I want to have a camera that makes my job easier. That's the most productive thing you can do. If you pick up a camera and it takes you ages to set it up and ages to use it because it's just confusing, well, then you're going to waste time and you're going to waste money. So find the camera that works for you, makes your job easier and your life easier, and use that one. And at the moment, this is that camera alongside with the Ursa Mini Pro. They make my life easy. When it comes to the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, as much as I love this camera, there are some downsides to it. One of them mainly being the battery life. The Pocket Cinema camera uses an LPE6. This particular generic version is a 1700 milliamp hour battery. So the life on these ones, they're just not that great. 25 minutes to 30 minutes at the most. And you know, when you using the camera to make money, that battery life, that length of runtime just doesn't really cut it, because most of your jobs last the whole day. You're out there shooting, you don't want to have to change the battery every half an hour. And honestly, for the last few months, that's exactly what I've done. What I really want to do is actually pick up one of those tilter cages with the little handle on the side, and you put the battery in and it charges the camera while you work. That's amazing. When it comes to this camera, the functionality of the camera is what really caught my eye. This thing's easy to use. It's got a simple menu system, same as the Ursa Mini Pro. It's got a big touchscreen on the back. It's got simple buttons, and only a few of them. It resembles a DSLR with the trigger button here, even though I've only used it in this position once or twice. This is, for me, not a usable position for my work. You know, some people might be able to make it work, but I like the handheld look. Doing a handheld look doesn't mean it needs to be in your hand. Handheld is where the camera moves as though it's being held in a hand. It can be positioned here on your shoulder, up against your chest. The handheld technique means that the camera just has that sort of look. It doesn't mean that you have to physically hold the camera in your hand. So when you do hold this camera in your hand, because it's quite small and quite light, you end up getting micro vibrations, especially on a zoomed in shot. Like this is a 12 to 40. If you had to zoom in to the 40mm here, you'd get a lot of small micro vibrations, and that's not what you want. So put this on a stabilizer, or get a shoulder rig for it. Put it on your shoulder, get a bit of stabilization behind it, and then do your handheld shots where it sort of floats around in the air and feels like it's being held. The other thing that I really like about this camera are the internal mics. Now, for the little short film that I did for Blackmagic, the internal mics were the audio that I actually used for all of the Atmos and Foley within the video. So any sound that you heard that wasn't the music was from these two microphones built into the camera. What's really cool is you can set them in a stereo mode. So left channel can be left channel, right channel can be right channel. What I like to also do is, if I'm doing bigger projects, I have an external recorder or just one of the small little mountable mics that fits on top here and fits into the 3.5mm jack. It works perfectly, the sound's good. If I want to get really fancy, I can use the XLR mini jack, and that's got phantom power. I can power any of my microphones that do require phantom. So this camera is made to be a miniaturized cinema camera. This thing's not made to sit there and autofocus for you and stabilize for you and do your job for you. That's not what it's built for. From the REs to the Reds to the Ursa Mini Pros, it's all manual. So I don't really worry too much about sensor size. The main thing is that it has a specific look and it can do the things that I want it to do. If I want to have the shallow depth of field, can I do that with this camera? Yes, I can. You know, the main thing is this camera, it does its job, and I've really enjoyed it. I'm getting more into the smaller cameras than I ever have been, because I've always liked big cameras sitting on my shoulder. That's what I like. But this little guy has won me over. It's small, it's functional, it's got a great image quality. So one of my favorite cards that I've now used throughout this shoot and all the other ones has been the Angelbird 256 gig, I believe it's a CFast card, as well as their SSD, small SSD that can plug into the side here, especially if you're doing time lapses. That's where it helps a lot. You want to leave the camera rolling for a few hours, plug it to its external power source, plug in the SSD and let this thing roll on your time lapse. There's many ways to kit this camera out, and that's what you need to come to terms with. You're going to have to get a few extra features if you really want to, you know, pimp this little camera out. If you really want to make the camera shine, you get a couple of extra things. Get a cage, mount a monitor on it if you really want, with a hood. So I'm going to link a bunch of footage that you guys can download and play with and test and see what it looks like and check the quality and check the dynamic range with, and I'll put a link in my description below. You can go and download that and play with it. If you want something that's really powerful and that's able to take your productions up a level, the price of the camera is so low that you can spend a little extra on buying cages and anything else and you still won't break the bank. For me personally and the projects that I work on, this is a camera that I take with me everywhere now. I don't leave it behind. I use it on every single production that I'm on and every production I have been on since shooting the first video that I did with it. So for me, this camera sits side by side with my Ursa Mini Pro. It goes everywhere with me. Its functionality is brilliant. I take with the Xeon Crane 2, hook this thing up, and that's what I primarily use it on, just because I love to get those types of shots now for some of my productions. And you know, honestly, you can't go wrong with this thing. If you do want something that has automatic everything, then this is not the camera for you. If you want a miniaturized cinema camera that can achieve incredible images, has great functionality, and comes at a good price, this is the camera for you. Thanks guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown and review of the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K from Blackmagic. And if you like these videos, I'm going to be putting more out. Hit subscribe and comment. Ask me any questions. I'm going to try better to answer everyone's questions and read through all of them. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and see you guys next time.